Hey y'all, it's Mason. Someone asked me if I would continue to do videos now that my son is home. And I was like, child, my son is a part of my journey. Of course I'm going to do videos. Being a mom doesn't stop anything. Just because he was in Chicago doesn't mean I stopped being a mama. Hello, somebody. But I wanted to talk about something along those lines. Quite honestly, I can't say that my experience with being a mom was all that positive. It started off, with me thinking that I was going to kick the bucket, when my son was born and, almost doing so. A lot of people don't know the story, but, it took me 9 years to conceive Mason, and I was able to conceive him by in vitro fertilization, IVF. Mason was actually a twin. We implanted a boy and a girl. I lost the girl the day before we moved to Chicago, and they basically told me to go home and wait to miscarry Mason. I was placed on bed rest and told to see a specialist. And I saw about 5 of them, and all of them told me the same thing, that I would die, or that I would have to choose between my life and that of my son at childbirth. Of course, I chose my son. I actually stocked his nursery for 6 months. Bought all of his toiletries, clothes, receiving blankets, cribs, everything that you can name, everything that a baby might need, books, toys. I mean, literally, I stocked the nursery. I sent my ex-husband to parenting classes and also to an infant CPR class. And I went to Mississippi when I was 28 weeks to say goodbye to my family, because they told me that I probably wouldn't make it to the 32 weeks that they had given me to abort, basically. This is a true story now. I can't make this up. Wouldn't want to. And while I was down there, people started talking about this doctor. Oh, you got to go see Dr. Amos. Dr. Amos. Dr. Amos is, wonderful. She's the best doctor we ever had. That's, come on, honey. And I went to go see Dr. Amos, and she was the first doctor out of the 5 specialists that I saw now, who told me that she would make sure that that she delivered my baby safely. The bad part is Dr. Amos went on vacation before my next appointment, which was, the next week, because I was literally like being seen every week in the ultrasound, all of that good stuff. Look at this little boy. You going bye-bye? You're going bye-bye? And I went the next week, and I saw one of her assistants. And, hey, Mason. And, we did measurements and all that kind of stuff. And by that time, I was well-versed, honey. I knew how much he was supposed to weigh, how many inches he was supposed to have grown. I was checking and clocking this baby. And lo and behold, I noticed that he had not grown. This is me running after Mason. And I said something to the assistant, and she was like, oh, you're right. And she was like, well, I'm going to check his amniotic fluid index. Now, it's supposed to be at 8, between 8 and 10, I think. Mason's was at 3. Next thing I knew, I was on my way to the hospital to have an emergency C-section because my baby was in crisis. And the hospital that we went to did not want to take the chance of delivering a baby that was in crisis. So they called around, and finally they found a hospital that would accept me. And they took me to Jackson. And around 5 o'clock that evening, honey, I was wheeled into the operating room. And when I went in there was about 20 people up in there, and they all looked nervous. I could tell that they were all nervous. And I was like, they know something about this, but I don't know, child. And laid down on the table, got my little, this boy trying to run in the street, Jesus. What do they call that when they give you the shot up your back? Is that the epidural? I don't know what it is, child. I don't know. I'm getting through the process once. But I laid down in 5 minutes. Mason was born. I asked about his APGAR scores. He had high APGAR scores. I was like, cool, honey. And then I heard a scalpel drop. And there was panic. I heard when the doctor said she's going to need more blood. And I felt myself losing consciousness. Like I started seeing black. And I just started praying and thanking God for my journey, thanking God for, you know, for keeping Mason. And really just thanking God for his life. And when I finished my prayer, the door opened. And I heard a lady's voice. And she was like, has anyone seen my keys? Nobody answered her. And so she said it again. She was like, has anyone seen my keys? And no one answered her again. It was just panic, right? So she was like, you guys have this? And one of the doctors who was operating on me said, no, you know, she's bleeding everywhere. We can't even tell where she's bleeding from. And so the doctor, she was like, oh my God. She was like, move out the way. She was like, the last thing I want is for a mom to die on the table because you guys are idiots. She proceeded to operate on me for the next 4 hours. And when I woke up, I was a mom. The story always gets me. But the thing about that story is the person who just happened to walk in, lost her keys, was the chief of surgeons. Probably nobody else could have saved my life except for her. And just when I needed, you know, a miracle, literally a miracle, you know, I got it. And I didn't get it by, you know, holding on to faith and wishing and begging God. I got it because I just let it go. And that was my experience in becoming a mother. I not only had the miracle of my son, who they said, you know, would not make it, my life, because they said I wouldn't make it either, child. But, you know, the miracle of the doggone chief of surgeons in the hospital, in the only research hospital in the entire state to walk in when I was laying on the table bleeding to death. So that story went a different way. But just expect miracles and let it go. And I'm going to watch my little miracle. It turned into such a mess, but this is a little boy. I just let him run free. It is what it is. Anyway, that's my talk for today. Expect miracles and love yourself, child. All right. Bye, y'all.